But remember, over this entire period of 15 years, the injustice that has accompanied the incompetence and deception. The bottom 1/10 of the population seeing their incomes fall by 14%. The top 1/10 have seen them rise by over 50%. In the 5 years to 1992, the director's pay rose by over 100%, whilst many people saw cuts in their standard of living as a result of problems at the workplace. And when that is happening, when people are getting away with tax abuses within our system, where you get millionaires that actually pay no tax, and when you get directors of top companies awarding themselves vast pay increases, way in the excess of those that work for them, how dare the Tories tell us in those circumstances that we cannot afford a statutory minimum wage for those on the lowest pay? Unjust and also inefficient, because 3 million unemployed is not just a scandalous waste of their talent, it is a burden on everyone. When people are growing up in a culture alienated, divorced from the mainstream, with poor education, poor hope, poor opportunities in the inner city areas, then we see the consequences, not just economically, but socially, in higher crime, in problems on our streets, in social and urban decay. And there is one other campaign that has helped transform the situation of the London Party, and that is its campaign on the issue of crime. When we have elderly people that are afraid sometimes even to stay in their own homes at night, when we have women afraid to use public transport after dark, when we have black and Asian families attacked in the street simply because they are black and Asian, then I tell you, the Tories no longer have any right to call themselves the party of law and order. They have failed this country, and they failed it because they failed to give the commitment to these issues that we require. And one of the things that we have promised during the course of the legislation before Parliament is that when Labour is elected, we will have new legislation that makes racially motivated violence a crime punishable by the law, and racial attacks and racial abuse will become serious criminal offences for the first time. And we will make that commitment to the people of London. We therefore must renew our country. Renew it economically, renew it socially. Renew the way we govern ourselves. Renew it economically by investing in our industry, in our technology, in small businesses, in ensuring that we get the combination of public and private finance to regenerate our infrastructure. Renew it in modernising our public services, not as the Tories are doing with the post office, selling them off. We want our post office in the public sector, actually helping people as a public service, not sold off so that people can make profit from it. Investing in our education and skills, and ensuring that people get the decent dignity of a chance to work. 3 million or more unemployed. 50 years ago, a coalition government with Labour people in it, but as part of a consensus across the political spectrum, said that it should be a primary responsibility of government to maintain a high and stable level of employment. Now, that was the goal of full employment that united this country over many decades. Today, as a political party, rightly, we are pledged to restoring that goal as the centrepiece of our economic strategy, of ensuring people get the right to work in decent conditions, and not just creating jobs, but giving people fair treatment when they are at work. One of the first acts of an incoming Labour government will be to implement the European Social Chapter in full so that our people get the same rights, the same benefits, the same entitlements as their European counterparts. We will give people the rights at work they require. We will renew our economy, both in industry and in jobs and in the treatment of people at the workplace. We will renew it socially, in the welfare state and in creating safer communities. and we will renew it in the way that we govern ourselves. Is it not a scandal that in our country today we now have more money spent by unaccountable quangos than we do by the whole of local government? We must rebuild our local democracy. We have had enough of government by quango, enough of Tory placemen running our local services, enough of the unacceptable and unaccountable destruction of local government. And Labour will ensure that when it comes to power, these quangos are returned subject to proper local accountability and control as they should be. And what is more, we will back that up with a proper, democratically Greater London Authority to govern London as well. These hustings meetings are the only place I know you can get a sauna as well as a trip out. And we will also back that up by having a Freedom of Information Act, by having a Bill of Rights, by ensuring that the processes of government are opened up, by ensuring that our National Health Service, savaged by cuts and closures, that we stop running it for management, accountants and bureaucrats and actually start running it again for patients and the people who use these services and the people who need them and the people who are desperate for the services in the National Health Service. Renewing our economy then, renewing our society, renewing the way that we govern ourselves. Not just a set of policies, but policy that is driven by principle. Because our task is not just to win by default. It is to win by winning the battle of ideas in this country. We are a party with a mission. We're a party with a set of convictions and beliefs. And it is time that we put them forward with confidence. Because the one thing that is certain is that whether it's rebuilding our industry, or it's giving people the education and skills they need, or it's introducing jobs programs to give our young people hope, or it's rebuilding our health service, or our education service, or a decent integrated transport system for the capital city. These are objectives we cannot fulfill. They're purposes that we cannot achieve unless we work together as a society, as a community of people, not just as isolated people, stranded helplessly, but as human beings that recognize we are part of a society, we owe obligations to one another, we care about another, we succeed in part because of our dependence on one another. That is the basic principle of democratic socialism. That is the principle of social solidarity. That is the principle as relevant today as it's ever been. Because none of the things that we want to do for ourselves and for our children can be done unless we use the collective power of all for the individual good of each. Now, those are the principles. Those are the principles that have inspired us. Those are the things that have meant we came into the Labour Party. Those are the things that have meant that throughout all the dark years we've continued to work for the return of a Labour government. Because we know that without that power, without that government, we can't achieve the things we want. We can't help the people we need. We can't put the unemployed back to work and make our society fit again for our children to be brought up in. So let us make sure that it is power that we seek driven by principle. And let those principles that have inspired us throughout the ages now inspire the British people so that we reach government, not just for a parliament, not just for a term of office, but for a generation. Thank you. It is an honour to lead this party. I accept it with excitement, but also with humility, and with a profound sense of the responsibility that is placed upon me. I joined this party through conviction, because I believed in what it could do for our country. I have never wavered in that conviction. You have put your trust in me, and I vow to you I shall repay that trust with unstinting service and dedication to our party and our country. And I shall not rest until once again the destinies of our people and our party are joined together again in victory at the next general election. Two years ago, we chose to put our trust in John Smith. I know I speak for everyone in this hall, in our party and in our country, when I say that we wish he was still with us, leading our party as surely as he would have led our country had he lived. He gave our country something important, and he gave our party something precious. He showed the British people that public service is still an ideal that can breathe hope into a politics grown weary and cynical. And for us, while we remember him, we celebrate a pride reborn, a pride in our convictions, a pride in what we are and what we stand for, pride in our socialist values. We are proud to be Labour, proud to be part of this Labour Party of ours. And there is one way, and one way only, we can repay the debt we owe to John Smith, ensuring the party he believed in and to which he gave his life becomes the next Labour government of Britain. That is how we repay our debt to him. And look at how we have changed. There was a time, wasn't there, when an election such as this would have been watched with trepidation by our friends and glee by our enemies. Now it is an advertisement for Labour. We see the way Margaret Beckett stepped into the leadership of the party, performed so brilliantly in the House of Commons, and we thank you, Margaret, on behalf of us for everything you have done for our party. And we see the way that John Prescott's campaign showed. We can combine passion for our values with hard-headed, practical policies to bring them to life. Let me thank you, John. Thank you for your praise of me. You will get a medal from the Warm Words Committee.